They traumatized a generation of women.
This is Miraleen Patel, a functional medicine nurse practitioner who's determined to help women through their hormonal changes in life. But she's come across a very big problem.
We're still afraid of hormones. When we think about women's hormones, we think about cramps, chaos, cancer. That's not what these hormones do.
So what caused this issue?
So this fear came from this study. Is very flawed. The average age of women in that study was 63. That's already 10 plus years after menopause. And another major flaw is...
This is the ManLab podcast with Miraleen Patel.
Why are female hormones so different to men?
Women are very complex. We have 3 hormones. So estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And we need a good balance of these hormones in order to function optimally. We can kind of say hormones are like the operating system of our body. So their optimal levels determine how we not only function, but how we feel too.
Interesting. So one quick random question. Well, kind of. Do women actually have more testosterone than estrogen in their body?
Yes.
Yeah. So because most people think it's like completely opposite, whereas it's the ratios are different compared to, like, men have way more testosterone compared to estrogen and women are still higher, but...
If we were to look at the levels, we have more testosterone than estrogen, yet we still say that testosterone is the main male hormone. Right. Estrogen and progesterone are the female hormones. This makes us completely ignore testosterone. Sometimes women don't even get their testosterone levels checked. So it's something that's we're not aware of as much, and it's being ignored.
Interesting. So what's your, like, I guess that's the first myth, I guess, we're addressing is testosterone is an important hormone for women.
Yes. So testosterone, we have it and we need it. It impacts not only how we feel, but like drive, motivation, sexual energy. It's not just about like low libido or low sex drive. That's kind of how we're determining other underlying things like vitality. It's your life force in a way. So if you're feeling low mood, you're depressed, you don't feel like doing things like before, that's a major thing that indicates, it's about quality of life. And testosterone is largely responsible for that too.
I mean, just like men, men, that's obviously testosterone. That's a big thing we look at. But for females, that's a big component in conjunction, like you said, with estrogen and progesterone. And I think a lot of misconceptions over the years, people think like, okay, guys, you could balance it out, but females, like, we need to suppress estrogen, and we'll probably talk more about, that study, and I think it was like 2002 that came out, and I think ever since then, females have been kind of shied away from, or providers don't want to do it because they think like you shouldn't give estrogen, you shouldn't give progesterone. But really, when you look at hormone therapy, whether it be men or women, it's about getting them balanced and homeostatic so all systems thrive.
So this fear came from this study. The study is very flawed. It uses synthetic hormones, oral progestin and horse estrogen. Yeah. Okay, so
that sounds fun.
Yes. And another major flaw is the average age of women in that study was 63, I think. So that's already 10 plus years after menopause. Yep. Right? So not only is there a patient population in this study that's already at a higher risk for chronic conditions like cardiovascular disease, and then we're overlooking the time of when hormone therapy is most beneficial. Is the earlier you start it, it's beneficial, right? So there were 2 arms of this study. There was a combined hormone therapy with estrogen, progesterone, both. And then there was just estrogen only. Maybe these patients had a hysterectomy, they're not given progesterone, right? So the study with just estrogen showed no increase in any of the risk factors that we want to avoid, right? The study with the progesterone was oral progestin. It's synthetic, and we don't use this anymore. We use modern bioidentical hormones are nothing like the horse estrogen and oral progestin. And I think that's a major, but what happened then was the media sensationalized this. They ran with this information. And even doctors were scared. They took patients off of HRT like overnight.
Well, think about it. Like, think of when it comes to men's hormones forever, like with the one study on prostate, and like it causes prostate cancer. Yes. Like now everyone's looking back. There was like one study that was published, and it was like it's actually protective too to have a normal testosterone level. And we don't want to talk about men, but it's just over the years, it's funny how science, pharmaceuticals have evolved to get more natural, more bioidentical. But I think getting, looking at the person individually and specifically treating the person, whereas, some of those studies, it's like, all right, we're going to give this person, horse estrogen or whatever, progestins, and all of a sudden they're like, well, this came up, so it's not safe. And next thing you know, everyone wants to shy away from it.
So in these studies, they distorted the truth in a way that we're still, like they traumatized a generation of women. Mm-hmm. We're still afraid of hormones. When we think about hormones, women's hormones, we think about like cramps, chaos, cancer. Like that's not what these hormones do. They have like estrogen. It's the queen hormone.
Yep.
Yeah.
It helps with our brain, memory, bone health. Progesterone's our calming hormone, helps us sleep and relax, right?
And you get a lot of females, I would tell you, like, because just tell me if I'm wrong, but females, progesterone starts going down a little bit earlier in life. And a lot of times you'll see women like go to their OBGYN, they're like, I have anxiety and I don't feel right and I can't sleep at night. And they want to completely ignore just even something so simple like progesterone.
Yeah, so this is when women show up to their primary care clinic, complain about weight gain, fatigue, brain fog, we are more likely to get prescribed an antidepressant and birth control. Like here's a Band-Aid, this might help. So most of the times our symptoms are being dismissed, but then we're not checking testosterone levels or hormone levels.
So I have a question for you then, because it's so common, and I can't tell you, like probably over the last 3 decades, most females, that's a common fix. Like, let's get you on a birth control. Talk like why that's not necessarily the greatest fix or what potentials could come from that.
Because they can impact, birth control really impacts your hormones as a female.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're thinking birth control regulates hormones, but it doesn't. It just suppresses your hormones. So over time, yes, with lower hormone levels, you might have lighter periods. Sometimes a lot of women with PCOS are given birth control. Like, here you go, this might help lighten your periods. Yes, but the energy, the mood, the libido all suffer as a result of low hormones as well.
Yeah, you're just blunting it.
Yeah.
And so what are the long-term potential effects of that on women? Because it's very common, especially now, like it seems like protected sex is quite like a thing, especially in your 20s. Like you hear it all, it's just like, I remember when I was younger, it was like, now I sound old.
Well, just because you're old and popping out kids left and right now.
Well, it's funny because like you speak to 20-year-olds and stuff, and like the idea of even having a one-night stand protected is just like, no, she's on the pill, or something like that. Like it seems like getting on birth control is such a common thing now, without a lot of women and girls understanding that if you're on that for potentially 10 years and then you're ready to get off it, what are those potential long-term effects on hormones for women? These
pop-up online clinics where you can just go and shop for a birth control pill without anyone ever explaining the long-term risks or anything, really. All you do is an asynchronous visit. So you fill out forms, the provider on the other side goes over it and prescribes it to you. They don't even know you, So there needs to be more awareness or more education, not just for patients. Providers need to be educated more on this. Do you know only 7% of U.S. OBGYN residency programs have some sort of education about menopause?
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. that is still like disgustingly low.
Yeah.
Because that's meant to be like, that's meant to be like their exact profession, but they're not learning the effects.
No, and it's just normal part of aging.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think the reason behind that is? Just there's more money in just prescribing a pill than there is like actually fixing the root problem?
I think so. We're not in this habit of looking for the root cause.
Yep.
I think times are changing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about you. You got originally into more of the male hormone side, and then you've kind of started like finding your passion with female hormones and kind of speak to that. Like, why do you feel like there's a need? Obviously you just said it, like most providers aren't trained. They don't understand it. And a lot of providers are just putting Band-Aids and potentially creating bigger problems down the road. So I know that, but even with yourself, I know you've kind of had your own hormone imbalances to be able to treat. And then, just kind of fast forward, you're trying to do that for more females.
So as you know, I'm in men's health, and I started in men's health and I loved it, and I still love it, but the more women I see, I realize that I always want to tell them, like, get your hormones checked, because it's so many complaints that we can connect the dots and try to find the root cause, which most of the times is hormonal. I think 50% of women suffer from some form of hormonal imbalance, and it shows up as symptoms too in their lifetime. Yeah. So we really need to look into this.
And you're trying to break that stigma that females don't need it till menopause, right?
Yeah. So, I would say in our 20s, we need to start to understand our health. We need to learn our body and learn the symptoms that our body is producing and not suppress it, right? In our 30s, these changes are already happening. I think women start, we can go into perimenopause in the 30s. So it starts early.
Yep.
Hey ladies, hope you're enjoying this episode. Just quickly want to mention, if you're not sure where you should go to get the blood work done accurately, T Clinics USA does have a female faction in their business known as She Clinics. To contact them, just go to bit.ly/She Clinics. That's bit.ly/She Clinics. If you don't want to remember that, the link is in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this episode. Or alternatively, you can go to tclinicsusa.com, fill out the consultation form, and they will obviously know that you are meant for She Clinics. And as an extra bonus, if you mention the ManLab, you will be given a 10% discount on the very first package you purchase with She Clinics to help you get started and help you get underway with helping yourself feeling like the woman you want to feel like again. So again, that is bit.ly/She Clinics or tclinicsusa.com. Mention the ManLab, 10% off, and get yourself feeling more like you again. Now let's get back to the show.
And you probably see, like I think you were talking, I overheard you speaking to someone else, like usually 30s is more progesterone starting to go down.
Yeah.
Is that, more common than not, that's typically the first thing that starts to kind of get out of range?
That's true. So in the 30s, progesterone starts to go down. So that already affects your metabolism, sleep quality, energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's typically where they're throwing birth control like they're candy.
It's also typically where they start having kids, then you got that, plus if you can't have a good quality sleep mixed in with irregular sleep like we're going through right now with 2 little ones, that sounds like it's a double impactor. Curious then, selfishly I'm going to ask, not for me, for my wife. I don't need progesterone, but if they're still like, if women are still breastfeeding and everything during their 30s, what's your opinion on, like, if progesterone is starting to come down, what would be like the typical thing that they should do? Come in, get checked for all those sort of levels. If they're down, is it still safe to do that with breastfeeding? What are the things to be aware of,
There's no problem with breastfeeding. Even back in the days, there was misunderstandings about breastfeeding, right? It takes a while for our female hormones to normalize, sometimes even after a year. As a husband, you have to be very patient.
I work a lot. Yeah, so there's nothing like, if a female was low on progesterone, like what do they take it? Is it injectable? Is it like, obviously we can't give an exact protocol because everyone's different, but what does that typically look like in order for a female in their 30s to get their progesterone levels back to where they need to be?
Yeah, so progesterone, now we have modern, bioidentical hormones, which are available in many different forms. You can do a patch, a pill, injectables.
Creams.
What's your preferred?
I would say a patch is good.
Really?
You're bypassing your digestive system. It's getting absorbed transdermally, so you're also skipping liver metabolism. So it's good. Less side effects, you still get the benefits.
Probably good too, because I know my wife would not be keen on an injection.
Yeah.
So that's good. Okay.
Yeah, I see a lot of providers do more just oral progesterone.
Yeah, oral progesterone is still beneficial.
More so like menopause, post-menopause, just because it's a little bit easier to manage it.
Is there still that liver issue that you said? Or
more so with estrogen. So progesterone is still very safe to take orally. So
there's
it's
not
still
much
preferred.
hepatotoxicity with
No.
okay.
So still progesterone
But
is still
still, you
preferred
still
to
got to
take.
metabolize through the gut, through the liver. So just anything you put through,
Gotcha.
if you could bypass it.
And so let's go through all three of the, we've done progesterone, testosterone. Most women think I'm going to take testosterone, I'm going to look like a bodybuilder. First of all, I always tell them good luck. Am I correct in saying good luck on looking like a bodybuilder?
Yeah.
Or I'm
That's not
gonna
gonna
grow. I'm gonna
happen.
grow back hair and chin hair. And
Unless you're taking mega
mismanaged,
doses.
right?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is all about balance, and we're not trying to overdo or, yeah.
And what are the benefits of a female taking a very low dose testosterone?
You know what? It can be life-changing, just a low dose of testosterone. We say low dose because it's low compared to what a man has, but it affects everything.
Yep.
Women go from being just tired all day to actually being motivated to go out and do stuff.
Well, I would say
Really?
it's kind of very similar to a guy. If you fix a guy in relation to a female in a relation to optimize them, more energy, mental clarity, that drive, that get shit done, like just get back to your old self that you were when you were actually in your prime.
Yeah, has you feeling like yourself again. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so with females taking testosterone, I've heard from other people, and I'd love to, microdosing, again, very small amounts of testosterone for women through menopause can help ease the menopausal symptoms. Is that correct?
Yeah, so like we said, it's not just like a switch where you're
Right.
50 and here's menopause, you know? These changes happen, there's subtle changes happening even a decade earlier. In your 30s, in your 40s, you're going through these hormonal changes. So yes, microdosing hormones based off of your labs and how you're feeling, both of these things are equally important. You can't just go by numbers.
Yep.
This reference range is so generalized. It's comparing a 30-year-old to a 70-year-old,
Yeah.
all in the same normal reference range for testosterone. So really on how you feel as well. But
Because it's going to be specific to the person. You know, I think that's where a lot of people, I hear it over probably the last 5 years, more females wanting hormones because their friend got pellets or their friend went on something and they want to get on the same thing. And it's like, well, necessarily you might not need that, or your ratio is going to be completely different. So it's like finding a provider that actually, one, understands it, that's willing to do it, and then treats you specifically to balance you specifically, which is going to be the safest to mitigate the side effects that come up.
so you always want to find the root issue,
Yep.
but most of the times it's going to be hormonal.
Yep.
And so with testosterone for them, is it obviously like with men, there is testosterone replacement therapy, there's testosterone boosting therapy, which causes the testes to produce more. Women
Not so
don't
much
have
TBT.
testes. So I'm guessing, is there a testosterone boosting option for women, or is it just straight TRT?
TRT, we don't really try to even.
Even if you identify as male, you can't do it? I'm asking for a friend.
If you think you have testes,
Does that work?
We don't try to, I never say to women, like, let's try to increase your hormone levels. That's not what we're doing. Optimal is like a very fine balance.
Yeah. And so with the replacement with testosterone replacement theory, I have to say the whole thing because TRT sounds like I'm saying tit. Testosterone replacement therapy with men, over time, the testes stop producing testosterone, and your levels, because of synthetic coming in, your natural levels go down. Is there a byproduct or a side effect like that with females?
No, because we're trying to use these hormones to fill in a gap that's already there. We're not suppressing. By the time most women get on HRT is when they're already drained and exhausted and depleted from hormone.
and most providers won't even look at it till they get to that point where
Yes.
they're just like, do something.
Yes.
Like something's wrong, but a lot of
I
times
saw
it's
my
already,
own mother go through that. I was young, I was in school, so I really wish I could have helped her, but I couldn't. And I saw her go through depression, she still can't sleep. And now she's at that age, 65, where I think, what can we do? But I gave her some progesterone, and she's sleeping well, finally, like after all these years.
way more calm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so how young or at what age should females start checking their hormone levels?
20s, 30s.
Really?
Yeah. You have to look at it like you look at all of your other blood work. It's a part of your body.
I always say you should, guy or girl, obviously if you're not at the age where you need some replacement, usually on your annual, try to get them on. The problem with that though is you have a lot of providers that will not check hormones in somebody sub 30 or sub 40 unless they're giving them clinical symptoms, and even then, good luck.
Maybe their insurance doesn't cover
Right.
it.
So that's kind of, like I said, I love that in the world we're in, there's more females and more providers that are starting to specialize in it. just making sure you find the right place that's going to at least check what you need to check and then really address it individually.
And there's many well-meaning female providers too that will not order hormone labs.
Yep.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, well, they just don't want to, they don't deal with it, they don't treat it, they don't want the liability of it. I want to talk a little bit, I guess, on estrogen now, because we already spoke on
Before you hit that, because I want this big question.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, next. With testosterone, there's a couple of fears before we get to estrogen that I want to hit. If a female takes testosterone, is she going to start growing hair on her back?
No.
Okay, cool.
None of my patients do.
If she takes too much.
Okay.
Yes.
So she's not going to grow hair on her chin. Her back's all good. Yeah. Okay. Next one is, the next fear is, if I take testosterone as a female, I'm going to look like a jacked bodybuilder.
I mean, she may kick your butt.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got to be careful if my wife takes it. Got it. I guess the last one is, I know it sounds silly, but I'm going to act more like a man if I'm a female taking testosterone.
What is acting like a man?
I don't know.
Being assertive.
Yes, it's
Like-
it's great. I have a drive. I want to keep that drive. I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not going to wait till menopause. I check my hormones every year. If I were to start feeling in a slump, I'm going to start microdosing testosterone because I know the benefits of it. If my body's not producing it, here's bioidentical hormones.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because think about it too, say she was going low in testosterone, what other problems would that create potentially as time goes in a female?
So metabolism slows down. Now you have more easy weight gain. Muscle mass goes down. So your body composition suffers over time. Mood, you're not motivated to do things. That's affecting your life. If I was not motivated to do the things I do, I would not have the quality of life that I have.
Okay. If a guy is planning on having children, they say if you can, stay away from testosterone replacement therapy. If a female is in the same scenario planning for children later, should they avoid testosterone replacement therapy, or is it okay to still microdose?
It's okay to microdose, but I think with the surge of other hormones during pregnancy, it's still safe to not do testosterone replacement. I think HCG, there's other hormones that already kind of play that role in mood and energy and those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, she just sparked me another question. Sorry, we're getting
No, you're
HCG.
good.
I promise.
No, listen.
HCG for women.
Yes.
You just did that. So that is a common one that helps with regulating hormones. For women that are considering still having babies but want to regulate their hormones, what are the benefits of HCG for them?
Beautiful hair, skin, energy, good mood. The list goes on.
Really? And that helps with the testosterone regulation as well?
Not so much, but all of these hormones do have a feedback mechanism with each other. Yeah. So I think in pregnancy, a lot of women have, normalized hormone levels at that time.
Well, I think a lot of people, think of HCG as the pregnancy hormone, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times for guys, you could stimulate testes to produce more, testosterone and produce more sperm production. For females, obviously, it stimulates the ovaries. It could help them ovulate. So a lot of times when a female, for fertility, if they're trying to conceive and maybe they're having problems, a lot of times they could do either a trigger shot or they could get them on ECG, which is drastically larger than what they give guys, to actually help that ovulation process. So it could be used to actually help females actually get more fertile and be able to conceive.
And there's a toning side effect, isn't there? It burns a bit of extra fat and stuff too.
Listen, you have the old school. That's the world I've been in forever. The whole Simeon protocol. If mom during the first trimester of pregnancy starved when ECG is the highest, would her body prioritize stored or unused fat calories? The jury's still on that. I mean, I've seen firsthand that it does help maintain lean muscle tissue. Could it be an ancillary response from stimulating the ovaries to get a little bit of ancillary testosterone increase? Are they keeping more muscle mass? I could tell you a lot of times, probably over the last 15, 20 years, like a low dose in conjunction with a controlled diet, they do lose fat from areas that typically don't move. So it could be utilized for that. Low dose, not high dose, so you're not pushing other hormones or creating some deficiencies or
How low are we talking? Just for people,
a lot
for
of
like
times
reference?
for weight loss protocols on a daily basis, usually it's a 500 microgram. Well, actually, I take that back. 150 micrograms.
to
Yeah,
250.
sorry. So, man, sorry,
eyes
I got to
blew
mix
up
up. She's
then.
like, no,
that's the male
It's,
dose.
it's about 100 to 150 micrograms. A lot of times with men, if you're trying to keep some function at the testicular level, it's right around 500, sometimes 750, depending. But yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, estrogen. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell
Take
you,
the
we'll
stage,
go back
Jeff.
to that one. So we've had a lot of females at the weight loss side, and it could be a combination of them losing some weight, things getting back in line. But a lot of times, typically if they're using HCG, we've had a lot of Nuviva babies, I call them, like through the program. It's like they lose weight, they get a little more fertile, and all of a sudden they've been trying and they couldn't. And now all of a sudden they get pregnant. And then I have a lot of people that over the years like weren't trying to get pregnant and they get pregnant during that phase of the program. So definitely could help with that.
Quickly, before we get back to the episode, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't on whatever channel you're watching or listening to the ManLab. And if you're listening on Spotify, if you could leave a 5-star review on the channel page, that would be greatly appreciated because that will help continue to push it a little bit further for whoever is looking for information to help improve their health. Now, on the topic of information, if you are on YouTube, you can leave a comment below on this episode and we will respond to it with as much information as possible, or it might be another episode down the road. The reason this is important is because the more questions you guys ask, the more we know what we need to do to serve you guys better in future episodes. So comment on YouTube, leave a 5-star review, hit subscribe, and let's continue to help making men great again. Let's get back to the show.
Now let's get on to estrogen because, I think that's the big scary word when you hear hormone therapy especially for females. You're going to get breast cancer. You're going to feed all kinds of issues in the system. Let's talk why estrogen is so important and not to so much fear it. Obviously, if you're going to go on it, making sure that it's monitored and once again kept homeostatic to you.
Yeah, the fear is because of that study, again, going back to that study in 2002. And the use of the different types of hormones, it's all about balance. We want to start early. So the study that they didn't stop, the one just with estrogen, they actually concluded that it was more beneficial. It was preventive for cardiovascular disease and stroke and osteoporosis, cataracts. Like they gave a list of benefits of starting hormone therapy early.
Yep. Well, so you just hit something that's pretty interesting. Just if there are male listeners, for years, they were, I think in the HRT world, it's like either people would not suppress estrogen or they would over suppress estrogen with aromatase inhibitors. And we all know like using an aromatase inhibitor in abundance, dropping your estrogen too low presents cardiovascular risk, plaque deposition potential, messes up the HDL profile, so I mean, you need estrogen. Men need estrogen just like women need estrogen.
Yeah, so again, all about balance. I'll look at the labs. I'll see where your estrogen levels are at. If we're overdoing an estradiol, I will reduce the dose.
Yep.
We can't overdo that. You, as a man, you need a healthy level of estrogen. It's not about we want it too high or too low.
Well, and I think that's, over the years, I feel like everyone's trying to become relevant in the hormone world. Like you either don't need to be on a aromatase inhibitor. Well, that creates some problems if you're a guy that aromatizes. And then also too, you have the other, end of the spectrum where they're giving people way too much and they're creating a bunch of problems. One of the big ones. Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's the key with all of this, is finding somebody who truly understands it and is truly going to balance everything across the board. For guys, we're simple. Balance test estrogen, we're good. For females, make sure you balance testosterone, progesterone and estrogen. And so, it's...
And when we start off women on HRT, I'll do all three separately. Like, use this separate testosterone cream, take this oral progesterone, and use this estrogen patch. And let's see how you feel. So even it takes some steps to finally get to a very personal dose.
But that's how it should be done.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, because you're going to take that person, see cause and effect, see if they have any issues choose how much byproduct they get, and then you're going to dial them in.
There is no one dose works for all.
Right.
And sometimes with men, there's a very common dose.
But Blake's
that works.
on pellets, so why can't I get pellets? You
Just
know?
FYI, I'm not on pellets.
I can't tell you how many females I hear that from. Like and I've seen it over the years. They go to providers that just give everybody pellets, and they give everybody the same thing, and then next you know, you're cervical cancer, uterine cancer, breast cancer, because they're not being individualized.
Yeah, the risk of cancer for hormone-dependent cancers is there, but this is when you have a very high exposure of hormone levels, continuous high exposure, and that's not what we're doing.
And that's usually what they market. They tell you like, here's a link between this and that, but they don't reference the fact that the person that was on this was having a stupid amount of the medication with estrogen. Estrogen. How do you guys say it?
Estrogen.
I'm going to keep my accent. But with estrogen, in women, what are the benefits of that hormone? We've gone through testosterone and progesterone. What are the benefits of a healthy, regulated estrogen?
Do you know healthy level of estrogen, especially if you start at the right time, perimenopause, it's going to help.
Their 30s.
Yes. Yeah. So prevents, a little later, let's say mid-40s.
Okay.
Prevents Alzheimer's is what they're saying.
Really?
Can prevent osteoporosis, delays cataracts.
Yep.
Yeah, it keeps your memory intact.
Keeps you beautiful.
Interesting.
Yes.
So it can help beat the mum brain as well.
Yes.
Did you say the
Interesting.
what?
Mum brain.
Oh, I got it. Mum brain.
Mum brain? Yeah.
Mum brain.
I don't know what that is.
You know, like when you got kids like yapping all the time, it's like your brain just gets scattered. So anyway, outside of mum brain. And so again, with all that, like you've said about the funny sort of juggling between the three of them, what's that period for a female look like? Like it's obviously, it's not going to be a come in, take your blood work, sweet, there you go.
You're fixed.
You know, like,
No.
And it's an ever evolving thing for everyone. How long does it typically take you with a client from blood work to sort of like we're figuring this out till we have a pretty good idea?
We're going to take a break to quickly talk about Nuviva Medical Weight Loss. They have helped over 50,000 men and women across the state of Florida and other states as well throughout America lose those unwanted pounds and keep them off long term. Now, they don't do cookie cutter methods. They're going to make sure that you have your own system that will cater to your current lifestyle to help with your transition into making healthier long-term habits so that it's not this unsustainable short-term hop on hop off situation. Now there are different methods you can do. You can choose different diets like keto, intermittent fasting, or whatever is going to suit you properly. You can do just diet and exercise with the proper nutrition, accountability, as well as coaching. Or you can also opt into having medical support as well with GLP-1s or GLP and GIP combinations to help with that appetite suppressant. These are very useful because what happens is you can use that as a spanner in the works, satiate yourself in the short term while you're building those habits long term. They get you off those medications so you're not relying on them like other places out there that love to just keep throwing you the medication. They're gonna make sure that you can get off it, build sustainable habits long term, and they have seen people lose upwards of sometimes 80 to 100 pounds and keep it off for years to follow. So if this sounds good to you, head to nuvivaweightloss.com. That link is in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. So if that sounds good to you, head to nuvivaweightloss.com. That link is in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. And let's go and kick some goals and make your life that much better with those extra pounds lost and gone for the rest of your life. Let's get back to the show.
If you come here, we'll have it figured out in a few months. Do you know the actual statistic for women figuring out their hormone problems is 10 years?
Yeah.
Really?
1 in 8 women has some thyroid issues, 1 in 10 women has PCOS, and they have these same symptoms that they're telling their doctor, but they're not being diagnosed for years.
Yeah.
It takes an average of 10 years to be correctly diagnosed.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it seems like modern medicine really is like the American war approach, where like, all right, there's 10 things that are the problem, but we've found one, so we'll nuke that one problem, and we'll sort of like screw up the other 9. Versus coming to like a
just
clinic.
Casualty of war.
Yeah. But versus like coming to a clinic where it's like, let's look at all 10 problems and figure out how to dial it in and flick the little switches to get everything working.
I mean, it's fair to
correctly.
say, I know for guys, we typically wait a little bit longer. Usually when we get a guy from scratch, you're talking 4 months, cause and effect, and then you're kind of a sniper pretty quick with the guy. Females, you like to see it a little with 6 months, right? Because you're talking start, see cause and effect, adjustments, cause and effect. If things are good, great. If not good, dial a little bit more.
6 months
And
is
then
still pretty quick.
No, it's
though.
amazing.
Like, you think if you're in your late 30s, early 40s, 6 months for then the rest of your life, that's a very short
But I will
term.
say, like, guys are simple. Once you set them, they're pretty set.
But
Females,
yes, women's hormones are still changing though.
Yes, I
through
mean, so that was
life.
my next
Yes.
question. Is
Yeah.
it's like you kind of can get it under control, but it feels like I'm gonna guess, and you can correct me. It's like women need to be constantly monitoring it, and it's like every
Yes.
5 to 10 years, there's going to be a big, like another sort of shift.
Yeah. It
sort
could
of.
take maybe a year to figure out your correct dose, and by then your body's doing something different.
Yeah, but at least you're constantly working towards like. Probably that's what a lot of people like. They kick the whole thing out, like they throw the baby out with the bathwater because they're like, well, what's the point? I don't feel great. Versus you're currently feeling, say, 80%, whereas if you weren't doing it, you'd probably feel like 40%. So like, what's that 40%? Well, technically you're feeling twice as better, but by constantly working on it. And so I guess the last main question I've got is, for women, what is sort of like a system with someone like yourself at T clinics / she clinics?
Yes.
What's that sort of protocol look like for the women so they can, I guess, visualize, all right, if I'm going to get my blood work, what am I getting myself into long term and short term?
So don't be afraid of getting your blood work done. I think there's also a lot of fear in, women are like, what's wrong with me?
they put a blind eye to it.
Yes, it's so important to get your hormone levels checked, and don't hide any of your symptoms too. No matter what you think, it's just common. Maybe this is something that everybody's experiencing. You never know. You have to be very comfortable with your provider to tell them everything. And that's what I strive to do, is try to make patients comfortable so they tell me every bit of information that I need to understand them. But yeah, come in, get your hormones checked, and then we can figure out a plan from there.
Yeah, I would add to that, I think for females, they have to be a little bit more understanding and patient too in the front early stages, because unfortunately, it's not going to fix overnight. It takes a little bit longer to kind of see cause and effect and adjustments to go. Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard over the last 15 years, it's like, oh, those didn't work for me, or I didn't feel good, or this was off. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, it could have been the provider and the form and the type that they gave them. Or if they're coming off birth control, sometimes you have like a little bit of give and take that's going to have to happen a little bit quicker to kind of start letting certain things get out of the system, things balance and get realigned. So just be a little more patient as a female. To allow yourself to get dialed in.
It takes a little while to trial and error sometimes with different doses. I like to start low, and then we can slowly find the correct dose. But it takes a while. You have to be patient.
And then it's always a moving target.
Yes.
Such is life.
Yeah.
Well, it's always my go-to statement I find for a lot of people is, I've tried everything except for consistently. It's the one thing a lot of people don't want to try.
Everyone wants to bail
consistent.
too quick. They want to
Instant results.
They want the pill.
Yeah.
But all right, cool, fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I feel like I've learned a lot. Now I need to go get my wife to get a blood test. Yeah. Not saying she's not great. She's fantastic. I just want to put that out there.
I'm just going to tell you right now,
she's fantastic.
When she loses her shit, do not tell her she needs progesterone.
That is a good point. That was a quick way to fight with her, and it definitely is my fault. All right, cool. Well, thank you very much, guys, ladies, who probably mostly ladies listen to this one. But also, if you want to find out more about how to get your blood work and find more information, you can go to tclinicsusa.com. I promise it's still She Clinics. It's just the front end website for us. Mention the ManLab for 10% off your first package. And yeah, any more questions, comment below or DM us on Instagram and we'll reply. And thank you very much. And make sure to share this with everyone you know. Everyone. Even people you don't know, share it with them.
Share it with your wife.
And make sure to subscribe. Till next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.